Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Booth Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here, and let's wake up the football gods. Wake up this morning, guys. Wake up. Oh, my goodness. It's early. It's only about 6 a.m., but I got to hit the road. Simba's got to go to the doctor and possibly have surgery today, and I've got some work to do, but then get back tonight. I have some great news. Brother Stewart, who's had 6 operations, including 6 stents put in his heart last week, is actually going home, or actually went home yesterday evening. I haven't talked to him since he's got back home, getting settled, I'm sure, back in and stuff. So your thoughts and prayers have been working well for Stewart. And so it is hump day, and I'm tired. I am tired. I just don't sleep at night. Forgive me if I yawn. I just don't sleep. I toss and I turn, and I just can't seem to get comfortable where the pain doesn't bother me quite as much. But that is my dilemma, not yours. So it was a busy Tuesday, and to recap all the stuff that went on, the Packers were fined $300,000 for COVID protocol breaking of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was fined $14,000. The one who actually had the great deception. I don't really understand how that works, but he was the one that deceived everybody and so on. But $14,000 to, a $30-some million contract is kind of like a quarter. You got fined a quarter, buddy, to you and me. Sam Darnold has a fractured shoulder and will probably miss several weeks for the Panthers. But at this point, I'm not sure that he'll be missed. Definitely not been playing well of late. First 3 games, pretty good. Pretty good with Christian McCaffrey. After that, went downhill fast. Then, of course, there's the Dalvin Cook situation, which we heard that he was a victim of domestic violence. Now they're actually trying to figure out what's what and who's who. This is a crazy situation. Apparently Dalvin Cook was home with a guest, and another lady, a former sergeant, busted into the house. They got into it, and she alleges that she got hurt. But then you look at it and say, well, you trespassed. So that whole thing is it's a mess. He disputes the whole situation. The attorney says it's in litigation. There's no charges that have been brought. I'm wondering if the NFL will investigate it like they did the Zeke Elliott situation. So that's where we are going around the league. With the other exception of we have the O'Dell Beckham Jr. situation. And apparently the New England Patriots camp has been reached out to. The O'Dell Beckham camp has been reached out to by New England. They're interested, which is kind of interesting because it seems like New England has no problem taking wide receivers that have issues. They had Josh Gordon, of course, and Antonio Brown. They had Randy Moss. Not that Randy Moss was a problem like these other ones, but definitely Odell is a diva. And you look at New England as a team that's up and coming. They started off slow. They took Tampa Bay to the break, took the Cowboys to overtime, and now they're 5-4 and only a half game out of first place in their division. So watch out for New England. Now back to our Cowboys, who get back out on the practice field today with the bad taste of their mouth, losing to Denver. To me, how you fix what happened last week. They say Pennsylvania is the Keystone State. And if you know what a keystone is, it's where you have an archway. The keystone is that very top stone that locks everything together. As they build it, it's got support. But once you get that keystone, what happens is all of the weight from above, from that keystone, gets forced out on each of those stones and then transferred to the ground. it holds it all together. Okay? The keystone. Well, that's Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith is the keystone of the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. He is the stone that kind of holds that whole thing together and makes all the difference in the world. Unfortunately, that keystone is getting old, and we know that there's always going to be a few games. When Tyron Smith's been playing and playing well this year, that offensive line and that offense just goes. The problem was we had problems on both tackles last week, and that's where everything goes from. With the force of the tackles, they weren't able to run as effectively in the middle. Of course, Dak had less time. Dak couldn't throw. Dak was off. Zeke was off. But everything was off, and it all started from the tackles. So we'll end up having Terrence Steele getting a couple more practices under his belt at left tackle. And looking at the game film and watching him, he's just not as quick with the left. He's not used to stepping with that left foot first and getting out there, and he was able to be beat on the edge. Hopefully a few more practices this week will help him to be able to set up better and be able to play better at that situation. The defense, is just one of those days that just had a bad day. I'm not going to say that they were just awful, but the whole team was awful, but I'm not ready to go ahead and just say we suck. The thing that kind of surprises me, no, it doesn't surprise me. It never surprises me because this is the way it always is when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. But listening to the talking heads, ESPN, and all this stuff, and one of the reasons why I started doing what I do is because I would always hear a narrative that more times than not wasn't right. Tony Romo had more comebacks than anybody during his time, but people would say Tony Romo's a choker. If you're leading a team to a victory at the end, how are you a choker? So, in the course of the last couple of days, it's been Dak Prescott he's so bad. Dak Prescott, he's played awful. And I'm not saying that Dak didn't play bad because he, coming back from being off for a week from the injury, he looked rusty. He missed open receivers, but we also had receivers drop the ball. We also had the offensive line having issues. We had everybody in every phase of the defense, of the offense, the defense, special teams, had issues in that game. It was just one of those games that I'll say is more the exception than the rule. But it's funny because I didn't hear them trash Josh Allen at all, because the Buffalo Bills, clearly going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that they were favored by 14? They scored 6 points. No touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions. He had 264 yards, 2 interceptions, and a 62 rating. I didn't hear anybody say anything about that. In fact, I saw Sports Track on Monday saying that Josh Allen was the favorite to win MVP. Off of losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Mathew Stafford. Mathew did have 294 yards, but had 3 incredibly bad passes. He looked like Mathew Stafford with the Lions. That 360 and throw out of the end zone, interception, and then 20 seconds later, threw the pick 6. You can look at that game and say, here's how crazy it was. I think Tennessee had 36 yards, and we're up 10 to 3. And that was all because of Mathew Stafford. It wasn't that Tennessee had great offensive performance. Adrian Peterson was their leading running back, 10 carries, 21 yards, and 1 TD. It was all on Stafford losing that game. The 2 interceptions gave them 10 points. Nobody has said anything about how bad Mathew Stafford was playing. I get it. Dak played bad. I did. And he's got to do better, a lot better. But if you're going to crucify him, then why aren't you doing the same to these guys? Both of these guys, they talk about MVP. So, anyway, I've got to get ready to get on the road. And you know how we'll roll. We'll get NFL tiers, of course, this morning. We'll see what they have to say about the Cowboys. They'll drop them. And, of course, Nick Wright will be ecstatic about the Kansas City Chiefs, of course. And no, Nick Wright, he'll have Kansas City back at number 1, probably. All right, I'll see you guys on the road.
As always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is